Hi, I'm Kristen, Doctor of Physical Therapy at Into the Light Healing and Bodywork. This exercise flow was designed to provide wrestlers and lifters with a balanced strengthening and stretching routine for their sport. This practice can help you stay strong and flexible, improve your performance, and minimize injury. The invitation is for you to repeat it and get a feel for making adjustments for your body. Okay, let's get started. Alright, we are going to start at the back of our mats this time, laying down on our backs. Legs out long, and we're going to start with a little abdominal engagement. So we're going to first cross the right ankle over the left, bring the left arm on the floor overhead, and then right arm goes up towards the ceiling. As we breathe out, we're going to tuck the chin, lift the head, and then reach that right arm up towards the ceiling and over towards the left. We're using abdominal muscles only to roll onto the left side. The legs just kind of follow the lead of the abs. Inhale here, and then exhale. Start with the hips rolling backwards and control it as we go down. Switch the arms, switch the legs. So right arm is on the floor, left arm is pointing up to the ceiling, left ankle is crossed over the right. Inhale here and then exhale. Tuck the chin to the throat, lift the head, roll using just the upper extremity to get the body onto the right side. Inhale here and then exhale. Bring it back down with control. We're going to keep switching here. Make sure you have enough space. Breathing out as we reach the arm to roll onto the left side. Inhale. And then exhale. Bring it back. Switching the cross of the legs and the arms. And exhale. We go to the right side. And if you need a little bit of help or are not quite able to get over onto the side, just using your abdominal muscles, it's okay to bend a knee to kind of get you started. And then you can use your foot just a little bit. Try to use as little as possible, just because you want your abs to be working here, not your legs so much. So that's an option until you're able to go the full straight leg option. Let's do one more on each side. Tucking the chin, lifting up, using the abdominal muscles to roll onto the side. Excellent. Okay, we're going to bend both knees now. And maybe even bring them all the way up to the chest, holding the hands on the backs of the thighs. Get a little bit of a stretch here. And then we're going to do like a little, kind of like a spinal massage. We're going to rock and roll a little bit to get up. So we're going to first tuck the chin to the throat and lift the head. Engage those abdominal muscles. And then you can straighten the knees to give you a little bit of momentum to go back and forth, rolling the spine. Make sure it's rounded by scooping the belly button in and up and pushing the belly back towards the spine. And then once you're more comfortable with it or can engage your abdominals correctly, you don't need the momentum anymore, so you can just kind of hold your body in and then use the abdominals scooping in and up to create that rolling motion. It's kind of fun to do that. All right, one more. Awesome. Okay, so from here, we're going to cross the shins and then bring the hands in front, rolling all the way through into all fours. And we're going to stack the wrists underneath the shoulders, the knees underneath the hips. Keep the abdominal muscles scooped in and up, really engaging through the core, knitting the low ribs together. We're going to keep that engagement with the option of flexing the feet a little bit more, getting a little stretch through the bottoms of the feet by tucking the toes under. It's also okay to put the tops of your feet on the mat. But keeping the abdominal engagement, we're going to pull the shoulder blades down the back, reach the crown of the head away from the body. Nice long spine here. We inhale, drop the belly towards the mat, lifting the chest forward, and then we exhale, tuck the tailbone under, curve the low back up towards the ceiling, push the shoulders away, let the head relax and the neck relax. Inhale, stick the tailbone out behind you, belly comes down but is still engaged, lifting the chest forward, head comes up. Exhale, tucking the tailbone under, lifting the back, relaxing the neck. Inhale, tailbone goes back, belly comes down, shoulders stay going down the back. Exhaling, making a nice big curve. And then inhaling the reverse motion. Now we have the option here to turn the wrists around so that the fingers are pointing towards the knees and continuing to flow here. Stretches the upper extremity in a different way. If it doesn't feel good, don't do it. Last one. Inhaling and exhaling. All right, we're going to return to neutral. That includes the wrists if you have them flipped. And then we're going to do a little SI joint stabilizer here. We're going to keep the low back nice and flat here, and maybe even if you need to, you can put your hand on your sacrum at the bottom of your spine. Otherwise, if you feel pretty aware of your body, we want to pull the shoulder blades down the back, keeping a nice strong base here through the hands where we're going to be bearing most of the weight, along with one of the legs. So to start, let's move the right knee a little bit more towards midline, and then we're going to engage those abdominals, keep those low ribs knit together. We're going to lift the left knee out to the side. We're going to keep the toes engaged here, and we're going to keep that SI joint nice and stable. So the sacrum is nice and flat, doesn't really move, doesn't matter how high you get your knee. What matters is that you're keeping your low back nice and stable. I like to breathe in as I come back to center and breathe out as I do the work. You can do this without putting your knee in the middle. Just will change your workload a little bit. Okay, let's switch legs. Putting my left knee in the middle this time. Resetting my posture, retracting my head, pulling the back of the head up towards the ceiling, looking down at the mat, and then exhaling with a level pelvis, bringing the right knee out to the side. Retracting the head, reminding yourself of the cues as needed in order to maintain a good posture. You might notice one side's a little bit weaker, starts to burn a little bit sooner than the other. Two more. Good. And then we're going to bring the knees underneath the hips. Maybe walk the hands forward just a little bit and walk the knees back just a little bit. We're going to tuck the toes under here. And then we're going to lift the sit bones up towards the ceiling, straightening out the knees. Next, we're going to flow into a sort of a crunch. So keeping those abdominal muscles nice and tight, shoulder blades pull down the backs, pressing maybe even into the fingertips. We're going to take and lift the right foot up off of the mat, and then as we exhale, we're going to come forward and rotate the hips so that the right hip goes towards the floor, the right knee goes towards the left elbow. Inhale, come back up. And then as we exhale, the left one's going to do the same thing. So foot comes off of the mat, bending the knee, left knee goes towards the right elbow, left hip towards the left, or towards the floor. Continue to flow with your breath. Controlling the motion. Slower, in my opinion, demonstrates more control, but faster is more about power. So depending on what you need to work on, just go at the speed appropriate for what you need to work on. All right, we're going to come back to neutral, let the knees down, tuck the toes under, bring them as close to your knees as you can, and then we're going to sit the feet, or sit the buns back onto the feet, walk the hands up into the knees, the thighs, and then come all the way into upright sitting. Take a moment here, this is a pretty intense stretch. And maybe even adding a little bit here, so we can either do like some wrist rolls, just kind of moving your wrists in circles, elbows straight, elbows bent. Feel your body and notice what it needs in this moment. Remember to keep your chest lifted, tummy tight, low ribs knitting together. Maybe even try bringing the hands together and clasping the fingers and rolling the wrists that way. A little bit more of a supported stretch. Lots of cracking and popping happening over here. You might notice the same, or maybe not. Or maybe even you don't want to do that so much, but you want to just give your wrists a little massage. Just taking your hand in your hand and pressing the thumb into the meaty areas of the palm, or into the wrist, forearm, maybe even getting the tendons on the back of the wrist. Just getting a little massage in there, a little self-care. And then if your legs are burning and your feet are burning too tight, we're going to come forward. Hands and wrists come underneath the shoulders, knees underneath the hips. We're going to, after a moment of rest of backs of the, or tops of the feet on the floor, we're going to tuck them back under. And then we're going to engage the abdominals again, always engaging those abdominals, low ribs knit together, pull the shoulder blades down the back, press down and out through the fingertips, and then we're going to lift just the knees. The knees lift up just an inch or two off of the floor. Hold it, hold it. You should feel the burn in your quads. Keep going. We can do it longer. 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. Let's lower down. Can sit back on the heels a little bit if you'd like. You can a little rock forward and back, side to side. We're going to do it again, a little bit longer this time. All right, ready? Lift. 10, 9, 8. Shoulder blades down the back. 7. Heck, nice and long. Head retracted. 6, 5. Belly tight. 4, 3, 2, 1. Good job. Go ahead and lower those knees. We're going to bring the left foot up in between the hands and then step the right foot back so that your left knee can be over your left ankle, and have a nice wide stretch in between for the hips. Come on up to hold on to the knee here. Breathe, feel the stretch through that right hip, through the right groin. Either top of the foot on the floor or toes tucked under. We'll tuck them under in just a moment. But right now we're just enjoying this stretch. Remember to keep the knee right over top of the ankle. A lot of times there's a tendency to collapse the knee in, like over the arch of the foot. Just try to keep pushing it out a little bit so it stays on top of the ankle. All right, now we're going to tuck those right toes under if they're not already there. And then we're going to lift that right knee up off the floor. Option here, hands on hips, to add a little pulse by just kind of coming up and down, bending and straightening that left knee. That really gets those quads to burn. Little pulse, little pulse. How's your chest? Is it lifted? Shoulder blades on the back, head retracted, chin slightly tucked towards the throat. All right, then let's bend that right knee and put it back on the ground. And then keep moving the hips backward. We're going to straighten that left knee, pull the toes up towards the knee, and then we're going to lean forward over that left leg. Just allowing the body to relax forward. Toes stay engaged here. Hands can come alongside the leg. Breathe and stretch. Invitation here to roll the toes out or in. Notice how that changes the stretch for the hamstrings. But be mindful always of where your neck is. So we want to keep our heads retracted. Chin slightly tucked towards the throat. Nice long spine. Build those muscles in the back of the head, in the back of the neck. See if you can lengthen the spine a little bit more. And then we're going to bend the knee, toes point forward, lift up the right knee, and then we're going to plant the right heel at an angle and in line, so the arch of the right foot is in line with the heel of the left. So we've got about a 30-degree turnout angle of the right toes. We're going to bring the left knee over top of the left ankle, and then let's stretch the right arm up and over so that our torso and our pelvis is in line with the long edge of the mat. Keeping that left knee over top of the left ankle, not letting that collapse happen like we talked about before, but pressing into the ball of the big toe. Arms going to go out here, reaching that torso, reaching the arms in opposite directions. Retract the head and turn your head to look over the left middle finger. Keep the abdominals engaged here and try to balance the torso right over top the pelvis. On an exhale, we're going to drop the right hand down to the right thigh and then lift the left fingertips up towards the ceiling. Tuck the chin towards the throat and let the arms just stretch as far as you can get it while controlling with that left side body. Try to maintain that left 90-degree angle of the left knee. And then we're going to cartwheel down so that one hand goes on either side of the left foot. We're going to pivot the right toe so that the heel comes up, and then we're going to step that right foot up to meet the left. Allow a moment here to hang forward. A little decompression for the spine. Hands can be crossed, holding elbows. You can have them behind your shins, behind your calves, or your heels. And then as we breathe in, we're going to straighten the spine, really reaching the crown of the head up and away to flatten the back. Nice flat back, nice strong abdominals. And then exhale, we're going to fold forward, allowing the spine to round again. Inhale, repeat it. Nice long flat back. And then releasing down. Inhale again. Nice long flat back. Tummy tight, don't forget about that. And then we're going to exhale all the way down. Now, this time, we're going to bend the knees, bringing the hips closer to the floor. And then we're going to inhale, arms come up and forward. So we're in like a squat position with our arms reaching in front to counterbalance. If this is a piece of cake, what we're going to do next is go onto one leg. So we're going to shift all the weight onto the left leg, lift up the right, and put the right ankle over top of the left knee. It's okay if you come out of your squat a little bit. Bit of a balance challenge here. And then if you really want to challenge your balance and your strength, we're going to bring the hands to the heart center. And then we're going to twist. We're going to twist abdominals engaging to the left and to the right. Feel free to move slow so you can control it and stay up. And then we're going to reach the hands forward again, put the right foot down, and shift all the way back to the right foot. Left foot comes up. Place the ankle on the knee or the thigh. Reaching and stabilizing here. Or bringing your hands to heart center, and we're going to twist to the right and to the left. Good. Reaching, bring that left foot down. A couple more breaths here. Potentially coming up onto tiptoes. So the heels are lifted, still in the chair position. Or just staying here. That's okay. Try to sink the hips a little bit deeper, but don't let the knees come forward. We want the hips to go back. Inhale all the way up. Okay, very good. That's hard. So what we're going to do next, step the left leg way far back. Try not to look. Really far back. As far back as you can get it. And then we're going to go ahead and start with that left knee down on the ground. Make sure that the right knee is still over top of the right ankle. Make any adjustments you need to. We're going to enjoy this little stretch here, this little break in our work and our strengthening. Again, adjusting as you stretch into a posture. Lower ribs knit together. You don't want to lose that engagement. Pull that right sit bone towards the left inner thigh. Really stretching that left groin. And we're going to tuck the toes under the left toes. We're going to lift that left knee. Keep pulling the right sit bone towards the left inner thigh. Keep the right knee over the right ankle. And then we're going to pulse. Just ever so slightly. Straightening and bending the right knee just a little bit. Check your form. Make sure the low ribs are knit together. Abdominals are engaged. Couple more pulses here. And then we're going to bring that left knee back down. Straighten the right knee. Lift the right toes towards the right knee, and we're going to slide back, stretching out those right hamstrings. See if we can get that right knee straight. And invitation here to turn the toes in, turn the toes out. Feel which fibers of the hamstring muscle need the most stretch, but not really allowing it to compromise the form of the rest of the body. So sticking in neutral if that's too much of a challenge. Also being mindful of the neck position, so retracting the head. And then of course you don't want to forget to breathe. We're going to roll the weight forward onto the right foot, lift the left knee, and place the left foot and heel at an angle about 30 degrees turned out to the left, with the arch of the left foot in line with the heel of the right. We're going to cartwheel our arms up and over, so the left arm reaches forward and up and back, so that the torso is in line with the long edge of the mat. From here, we're going to bend that right knee so that it comes over top of the right ankle. Adjust the torso, the pelvis as needed, getting the stretch that feels right, feels good for your body. Adjusting your hair if it's falling out. And then opening the arms. Right fingertips pointing forward, left fingertips pointing back. Turn the head and look over that right middle finger. Retract the head. Make sure that it's sitting in between the shoulders and not sticking out forward. Chest lifted helps. Shoulder blades down the back helps. Low ribs knit together helps. Find the stretch. If you have pain in your SI joint, left for this particular position, press your weight into the pinky side of the foot, the back foot. So that's true for the other side too. Just forgot to mention it for you. That's why we repeat this video, so that now that you know, you can do that on your own. Breathe like you mean it. And then on our next exhale, we're going to let the left hand down, turn the right palm up, and then reach up and over. Tuck the chin towards the throat as your arm comes up. Reach that hand up and over as far as you can, controlling the right side body, as well as keeping your knee over that right ankle. Don't put any weight through your back hand. It's just kind of there for stabilization or something. And then we're going to lift up. We're going to actually straighten out the right knee and turn the toes of both feet towards the long edge of the mat. And then from here, finding a stable pelvis right in the middle, we're going to inhale and then exhale, folding forward, releasing the torso down as far as is comfortable, maybe placing the hands in between the feet, keeping the ankles engaged so that they can stabilize and support you. And then let's place the right hand in the middle of the mat, right underneath your chest. Inhale, the left arm is going to go out to the side and up, turning the torso. And then exhale, we're going to bring that hand behind the right hand, or in front if that's more available to you. Reaching towards the right toes. Left hand reaches towards the right toes. Inhale, come up and out of it. Let's do this 3 times. Notice the difference in the stretch in your in your thighs and your adductors as we move the torso, and keep the abdominals engaged. And try to keep the pelvis level. So once again, we're not kind of shifting from side to side here. We're stable. We're stuck right in the middle. Left hand goes down to the middle of the mat. Inhale, right arm goes up. Hands reach toward the ceiling. And then hand reaches across to the left toes. Move with your breath. Inhaling, rotating out to the right. And then exhaling, we're going to bring it over and rotate to the left. Last one. And then bring the hands here. We're going to place the hands kind of on the edge of the mat in front of the feet. And then I invite you here to keep those hands planted if you're able. And if you're not, then you can always use a block or something to bring the floor up to you. We're going to try jumping the feet together. Very good. And then we're going to hang here in a forward fold, and maybe even bring the hands together behind the neck, clasp the fingers, and just let the weight of the hands pull the head down in attraction. Release the spine, but keep the abdominals engaged. All right, we're going to go ahead and make our way down. So I invite you to maybe heel toe the feet out a little bit, turn the toes out, hands, fingertips can be on the ground. Bring your bottom down to the floor into a squat-like position, and then we're going to get all the way onto the side. So we'll start with the left or the right side, and let's place the hand, the hip, and the ankle in one nice straight line. If it's too much for you to have a straight elbow here, feel free to come down onto the elbow with it bent. Okay, so we want the forearm to be rotated a little bit so that the crease of the elbow is pointing out at an angle, and that the back of the arm is resting nicely alongside the rib cage. We're going to straighten out both legs. And imagine that our bodies are on a tightrope here. So with everything in this one nice line here, we're just going to try to balance, feeling free to put your fingertips down to stabilize, especially as you're starting out, but really stretching out that right side body. And to prevent a collapsing through the left side body, we're going to lengthen the spine up and then let the ear drop over the right shoulder, getting a nice stretch through the left side of the neck. Holding yourself up here in a nice line. Chin tucked slightly. See if you can breathe into the stretching tissues and allow your tissues to release and relax. Notice the bend in my elbow. All right, and then we're going to swing the bottom leg, so the right leg, we're going to swing the shin all the way up to be in line with the front edge of the mat. In line, like parallel. And then we're going to walk the left toes back, seeing if we can get into like a semi-splits type position here. Definitely putting weight through that right hip. So we want that to be on the ground for this stretch. We're going to bring the torso down and slide the right arm along the shin. We can tuck the right thumb into the left armpit here, or if we're seeking an additional stretch, we can turn the other way. So we can rotate the left elbow to the right knee, and then hands can come together for a little stretch here, but always having that right hip on the ground. The left hip is probably lifted. Abdominals are engaged. Neck is retracted. And then coming out of that posture, when you're ready, bringing the right foot back. Come up onto all fours. Point the toes, big toes together, and then knees wide here, bringing the seat back towards the heels, and then lowering all the way down, hands reaching forward, maybe even bringing the palms together, making a little clasping with the last 3 fingers, and then pointing the pointer finger down towards the floor. It just lifts up the wrists a little bit. Feel the release through the shoulder blades and the upper back. And if your shape doesn't look like mine, that's okay. All right, then we're going to walk up a little bit, all the way, a little bit all the way. And then we're going to come onto the left side to repeat those stretches on the left. So whether you were on your elbow or all the way up on your hand, we're going to have that in line with the hip and the ankle. And a nice tightrope here, using the right hand for some balance support if needed. Turn the elbow towards the rib cage so that the arm is right alongside the rib cage, pressing into the wrist, the hand, the fingertips. Letting that left side body relax down, and then elongating the spine, lifting the head up and over the left shoulder. You have to be very mindful about continuing to push through the fingertips of the left hand so that we don't collapse and cause some strain in the shoulder. So if you're feeling a little tension in that shoulder, just try pushing a little bit more through the hand, the fingertips, and not allowing that collapse through the shoulder. And then when you feel those tissues releasing, we're going to bring the left shin up parallel to the front edge of the mat. And walking the right leg behind, toes there. And then finding your variation, whether you liked having the arm along the shin, the left arm along the shin, left thumb into the right armpit, or if you like the twist with the right elbow on the left knee and then hands together. Either way, keeping the abdominals engaged, supporting your spine. As we wind down here, elongate the neck and retract the head. That left hip contacting the ground. The right toes reaching away. And then we're going to bring the hands down. And let's just flip so that we are rotating onto our backs. Okay, moving into a bridge. If you're familiar with this, we want the feet to be in line with the sit bones. Walked as close to the sit bones as you can get them. And then we're going to add a little something to your traditional bridge. So we're going to retract the head, pushing it into the floor. This is an isometric contraction of the neck. Before you do it, I I invite you to tuck your chin down towards your throat just a little bit to lengthen the spine and push the back of the head away from the body. So we're going to do that little tilt, and then we're going to push into the floor, maybe about 50%. Not a huge contraction, but just enough to start building that muscle and building that strength. Okay, so we can either exhale, lift the pelvis up, reaching towards the ceiling, knees reaching away, maybe even lifting the toes up off of the mat and pushing the heels away from the sit bones, and holding, or we can flow with the breath. So inhaling, coming back down and releasing, and then exhaling, repeating. And don't forget to continue pressing the back of your head into the floor. So this is the flow here, moving up and down with the breath. If you would prefer to just hold it, that's totally okay. Working on endurance. Repeat a few more of these, whether you're doing breaths in a hold or you're going through flowing with your breath. Just a few more. Are you able to maintain your knees pointing up towards the ceiling? Are you able to maintain the neck pushing into the floor? Are you wobbly? Last one. And then let's relax even the feet if you're holding those up too. And we have a couple options here to do those either like single leg with the right ankle or either ankle resting on the knee and then lifting. If that's really too easy for you to do it with both feet down, we'll just do a couple on this side. Even things out. Or you can stick your leg up in the air, pulling the toes towards the knee for a little hamstring stretch as you go up and down with the pelvis. Or if a shoulder stand is in your practice, this would be a good spot to do that. I'm not going to walk through that here because that's not for everybody, including me. All right, so after all those bridges, we're going to straighten out those knees, maybe even taking a moment to really press the backs of the knees into the floor and point the toes away, reaching far away beyond the toes. And then tuck the chin towards the throat, lift the head, roll up a little bit so that we can prop up on the elbows. I like to put my hands underneath the tush to create like a little traction through the low back as I relax the torso down and over. So we're going to maintain integrity through the shoulders here by pressing into the elbows and lifting the chest. Big toes are touching and we're reaching the toes away from the body. The neck is relaxed here and the chin is slightly tucked toward the throat at all times. If we were to release that, it creates a bit of extension through the upper cervical, through the top of the neck where the neck meets the head. And we just want to maintain the integrity there too. So we're just stretching out the torso here, letting that relax. Maybe a slight engagement through the abdominal muscles. And then tuck the chin towards the throat, lifting up here. And then we're going to roll all the way up to a seated, fingers pointing towards the sit bones. Following the heels, make sure they're on the mat because you're going to need the grip. We're going to do like a reverse plank type of deal where we just lift the buns up. Keep a slight bend through the knees. Chin is sitting on the chest. Engage abdominals. See how long you can hold it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then lower down. Make sure you keep that little bend in the knees. We're going to come all the way down onto the back. And then we're going to bend the knees. Cross the right knee over, or right thigh over the left. And then we're going to roll on to the left side. You can use your left hand as like a little pillow here. So we're on the left side. Getting a stretch. The right inside of the knee should be touching the floor. And then we're going to open the right hand out and behind without losing the stacking of the rib cage. So we want that to be in a line perpendicular with the floor. So just allowing the shoulder joint to stretch. And you can either move the hand around in like a semicircle here and allowing that stretch to reach different tissues, different muscle fibers. Or if you find a spot that's like, oh yeah, I really need to stretch that, then please do so. It should be floating, shouldn't be on the ground. If your arm is close to the ground, you probably need to engage your abdominals and keep your rib cage stacked a little bit more. Alright, and then we're going to keep the abdominals tight here as we roll onto the back. We're going to switch the cross of the legs. So the left thigh is on top of the right. We're going to roll onto the right side. Left inner knee is touching the ground. Left arm up in the air. And then keeping the rib cage up, we're going to just find a nice stretch for the left shoulder and chest. Sometimes it helps to push the left hip down and away, just using your muscles to engage and stretch out in a different way to prevent any pinching type sensations through the low back. Abs are engaged. Finding that right stretch for right now. Try to relax the neck and the head. Maybe even take an inventory of what's tight today. What did you lift last? Notice how that affects your body. Are your IT bands tight through the lateral thigh? Alright, then we're going to come back onto our backs. Our final abdominal challenge is to roll up from laying down. So depending on the strength of your abdominals, you can have knees bent for a little bit easier or straight out for a little bit more challenge. I like to start this with arms up overhead, reaching those shoulders up and away, close to the ears. I like to engage my feet so that my heels are reaching away from me, and then tuck the chin, lift the head over the chest, and then roll the spine up, really reaching towards those heels. And then you can even finish with an arms up just because it feels nice. And then maybe even folding over those toes, folding over the legs. If you don't reach your toes, that's okay. Keep practicing and you'll get there. Or maybe not. Some people's anatomy, it's just not ever going to happen, and that's okay. Just stretch where you're at. Retract the head. Create space through the back of the neck. If we're still working on just getting the knees straight, that's okay, truly. Let the neck relax. And then roll up first, engaging the abdominals. And then we're going to come into a cross-legged position or a butterfly stretch. If that feels good for you right now. Spine is long as always, reaching from the sit bones down into the ground. Tight abdominals, then the spine lifts up, Crown of the head reaches up towards the ceiling. Shoulder blades draw down the back. Allowing the adductors, these inner thigh muscles, to relax and open. And if it hurts, either finding like some kind of support, rolled up pillow or towel on either side so that you can relax in this stretch with support, and then slowly moving them further away from the hips to allow the opening the more you repeat this practice. Always finding the right adjustment so that your body is happy with the work that you're doing. Thank you for taking the time to do this practice with me. The light and spirit in me honors and appreciates the light and spirit in you. Let peace be with you.